Yeah, baby, you know what time it is. Now let's get it started.
Are you kidding me? Unreal!
While our HBCUs are mostly known for academic rigor, community, they also know how to turn up.
Does he have it? Yes, he does!
And that might be the knockout punch.
Alrighty, y'all. Greetings and salutations. Instant reaction. FAMU wins against Mississippi Valley State University. We defeat the Delta Devils from Itta Bena, Mississippi. And man, it was a tale of two halves. And early, FAMU did take the lead. Give a quick recap over all that business there. Put the camera down a little bit. I want you to see the FAMU. You know. But early lead, Xavier Smith does catch a touchdown off of a Musa bootleg to the right. Huge mistake in the secondary is going to give Mississippi Valley State a touchdown, and that's their only score of the game. It was 7-7 at that point, and not long after, we do get another score. We get a touchdown by a run by Terrell Jennings to the right, and that put the game at 14-7. And Chris Fadul, man, Chris Fadul is probably like, we may have to make him our Cable Busters TV player of the game. We'll see. I'm not gonna even ask my wife. She doesn't care, but I'll see. I'll discuss it within my own id and see how I feel about it, because he was huge. Fadul has a punt that lands inside the 5. He gets marked at the 1. I thought it might have went to the end zone, but hey, you know what? I'm taking it. And then he also reaches into his bag and throws a dime for a punter on a fake punt. And man, Fadul's just showing how amazing of an athlete that he is. And I felt like we kind of did get a little bit of pattern there as far as offensively. Going into the half, though, we did see Manigo moss a man. And it just kind of, the half didn't end right, though. We had the punt set up. We called the punt team off, and we put Musa and the offense back on the field, and we end up getting no points out of it. I believe Musa gets sacked right before the half. Going into the half, time runs out, and so the score ended up being 14-7 at the half. The defense struggled a little early on to stop the run, but by the end of the second quarter, that is null and void. The offense for Mississippi Valley pretty much became fairly one-dimensional and unable to contend with FAMU's defense. I mean, it was a thing. In the second half, though, man, Valley's got a center issue. I don't know if the gentleman that they have at center is kind of filling in. I did not check their depth chart that deep because it's Valley. I rock FAMU. But I mean, just being honest with y'all, I'd rather be honest than lie to you. They had a few botched snaps. You could tell it kind of got on the quarterback's nerves, and it became a point of contention to the point to where it really disrupted the offense. And it adversely affected Mississippi Valley State's ability to score and do other things. I don't know what that point thing is. Might be Georgia last 10. Okay, it's not. But I am watching Prairie View game over in the corner. But that being stated, it became a problem. And going into the second half, we do see that we get Valley down to the 1-yard line. And then FAMU's deep ball, like, Valley had a problem with it. We saw the same thing against Alabama A&M last week. Alabama A&M really had a problem as far as containing FAMU's deep ball. And that's going to be something that's going to be addressed in recruiting. A lot of our SWAC opponents are going to attempt to recruit faster DBs because FAMU's got DBs and receivers that have speed. And that's our claim to fame. That's one of those things. We are from Florida. We're going to use that speed against you. And you saw where Coach Simmons did that. But you also saw where the running game became more important. FAMU became more balanced. At times, our offense is not always balanced. We can become very pass heavy. In this game, you can see where, especially coming out of the second half, Coach Simmons was very intent on running a more balanced offense. And Jalen McLeod and Terrell Jennings were all over the field. We even saw where in the red zone, McLeod got the ball, whereas many of us, including myself, last week had the critique of why are we in the red zone in the I formation throwing the ball 3 times. This week, we didn't see that. We definitely saw a lot more running the ball and a commitment to running the ball. And Coach Simmons even stated in his press conference that he was purposely trying to be balanced. And it seemed like when FAMU was balanced, we were a more efficient offense. And I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Y'all know I don't claim ideas that ain't mine. Kelvin Rozier from the ONG Strike Zone, he said it. If you listened on Friday's show, he was saying FAMU needed to be more balanced. When we're balanced, we're better. And he's right. You got to give a man what's due to him. He's right. When FAMU runs a balanced offense that is less predictable, we're a lot better, because that play action that we run, it makes the linebackers and the corners have to respect the fact that we may run the ball. And I do appreciate that Musa maybe not running the ball as much, because I don't want Musa getting hurt when McKay's not suited. Right? McKay's not in pads. I'm not seeing Junior in pads. I am seeing Sapp in pads. And honestly, I'm seeing some growth out of Sapp. I'm going to come back to him later on. But we did get Courtney Cox almost got a targeting foul. And I ain't going to lie, that was some bull shenanigans. Completely bogus. Definitely a nice shoulder being thrown. But I understood the foul, the flag after the fact. I am one of those people that can just sit back after a moment and be like, man, that was some bull. I don't agree with that. I'm going to say, you know what? Let me kind of get out of my emotions for 30 seconds and then kind of see. It's a bang, bang hit. Soon as the receiver turns around, Courtney Cox is on his tail, like white on rice, and made solid contact. And to the receiver's credit, he holds on to the ball. The guy from Valley held on to the ball after receiving a shot from Courtney Cox. I mean, it was straight shoulder. My only question related to it being targeting was did Cox launch? Like, I was like, did he launch himself? It didn't look like it, though. It just looked like a bang, bang play. And I appreciated the ref picking up the flag and saying that wasn't targeting, because that's a major loss. I mean, next week we got South Carolina State, and you're going to need that guy and his talent, because South Carolina State's got some receivers. Especially that dude, I believe number 1, he caught the attention of the South Carolina coaches. So, excuse me, y'all. It's getting late. It's getting close to my bedtime. And then we saw Oxidine. Oxidine came in kind of late, man. Like, he became a target. Xavier Smith is always going to be a target. Xavier goes for over 100 yards. And again, in the second half, commitment to running the ball. It was there. Mixing play calls, it just opens up the offense, and we see Xavier Smith score on a post corner route. Very nice post corner route. I was half poking the bear a little bit in our post game interview. I was like, yeah, I played a little receiver myself back in my day, acting like an old man. And at this point, I am, because I ain't running no post. Ooh, my knees just hurt thinking about it. But it was a nice post corner route. You could see where the route running and the practice from the preseason, it paid off. And so that was pretty much after that, it's garbage time. We see Cameron Sapp come in late. Sapp's a more mobile quarterback, but I can see where he's refined his passing skills. He was a bit raw coming in. He's a much better quarterback, at least from my interpretation and my opinion, than what we saw in previous years. So I'm proud of what I've seen for him working on his craft. And the second team got in. We got a late field goal. Final score was 34-7. And if you did watch the entirety of the post game, you probably saw Coach Simmons go out there with a little bit of Peyton Manning actions, conducting the marching 100 as they played Mighty Rattler. And I thought that was really cool. Coach Simmons might be the first person outside of like Dr. Chipman to conduct 100 in a mighty long time. So that's not an honor that's bestowed upon a lot of people to conduct the band. So, but key takeaways, and y'all know instant reactions. Instant reaction. It's just like, whoa, we just won. I didn't do one last week because I was at the stadium. So this week I didn't travel just because gas and everything. Like gas is kind of scarce. Like out of respect for those that are struggling and dealing with the hurricane, it's a little selfish for me to take resources just so I can really enjoy myself. I just felt that way. But the offense did a much better job of controlling the clock. Clock management was big in this game, and I really enjoyed that we did establish the run, especially in the second half. If you know me well enough, you'll probably hear me say like, "Man, we should have ran the ball. We should have ran the ball. We should have." I'll say it a lot, but just because I do believe that the run establishes the pass, a solid run game is going to allow the passing game to open up. And I feel like FAMU has one of the best passing games in the SWAC. I feel like that if you let Musa get comfortable, it's going to be a problem. And I'll be honest, I've said this on Wax. McKay's not bad to me. Like I'm not one of these people that doesn't like Rashawn McKay. I like him. He's efficient. A lot of quarterbacks in the SWAC were not as efficient as Rashawn McKay. Like keep it a buck. Like that dude, he's an efficient quarterback. Musa, you're seeing where he is growing. One of the things that was pointed out, and it was well pointed out during the game by the FAMU announcers, was that while Musa may have some experience, he doesn't have a lot of experience playing at the FBS or FCS level. He didn't play at Vanderbilt. Hawaii, he didn't really play. Most of his stuff came from junior college. Grambling is putting up a fight. If you are not watching this game, Grambling might make a comeback. I had written them boys off. But I digress. Back to my Rattlers. The defense, they flew around, and the amount of time that the time of possession allowed the defense to stay out the field. Coach Simmons pointed out these things. These are not something that I just organically just happened to notice by myself. Some things I did notice, but some of them I'm going to give credit to Coach. The special teams, man, Chris Fadul was huge. Like, again, I didn't know he played quarterback in high school. Coach Simmons did mention that. And that fake was huge. I kind of was like, I didn't see that out of you. Like, I didn't see FAMU running a fake punt at that time. Like, that's a nice little something to put on film. And now you have to prepare for that. Like, every team for the rest of the season has to prepare for Chris Fadul to run a fake punt. And if I remember correctly, he can actually run pretty well. Like, I'm trying to remember. I ain't seen Fadul run in a minute, but I don't think he's slow. But Fadul's talents and his ability to play and fill in multiple voids and his experiences, that makes that special teams unit very versatile. And we also saw with the kick returners, I pointed out, we have a little group chat, and I was like, man, I appreciated the fair catch where we took the fair catch late in, I believe it was the third quarter, and the fair catch comes out, the kick returner takes it. I don't know if it's a K-dot or not, but anywho, he calls fair catch, and he ends up at about the 17, 18-yard line. And I was like, I don't love the fair catch, but I'd much rather him take a fair catch than lose the ball. That was just wisdom and experience showing itself there. So, but we did have we just noticed, and I hate that term, we're a second half team. I think a lot of people use that as an excuse to say, well, we just didn't, instead of just saying we tend to adjust very well, or we don't play well in the first quarter, first half of the game. Like, we're a second half team. Everybody's a second half team. But one of my questions to Coach Simmons was, hey man, what do we do to prepare for it to be a first half team? Because we know what Buddy Pugh does. Like, anybody that's been around the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference for five years or more, Buddy Pugh likes to run the ball. And if you don't get on schedule, if you don't score, Buddy Pugh's going to get a lead and he's going to sit on it. So you know it, I know it, we all know what's up. So that's going to be something to kind of look at. Coach Simmons mentioned their well-coached team. They did get their butts kicked by South Carolina, but it's going to be interesting. I stated before, South Carolina State to me has a quarterback issue. The receiver, though, that dude number one, that's a problem. We need a safety over the top, because in jump ball situations, FAMU has been taken advantage of. We saw that against Jackson State. We saw it against Albany State as well. And heck, we saw a blown coverage today. Mississippi Valley State's only touchdown was on a blown coverage. So jump ball situations, I do have concern. I don't remember if I said that preseason, but that was something that I noticed in Miami. I also noticed when I went home, and I noticed when I watched the Albany State game. So maybe we have a safety rolling over the top, something to nullify and negate that tall receiver, because that dude's tall and it's gonna be an issue. The other thing that I took away, I noticed Xavier Smith's route running. It's crisp. It's crisp. And you can see where the work you put in the offseason is paying off now. This is why you're always told, hey, student athlete, XYZ person, work when nobody's looking. Because when everybody is looking, it's going to show itself, and it has shown himself. Now you're not going to get Xavier Smith to sit up here and say me. He's a team guy. And as many times as any of us throw him a me question, he says team. But the work that he and his cohorts put in is showing up. Maybe I want to see a little more work in the jugs room, because I think Xavier had 2 drops. And honestly, one of them I wasn't even mad at. Like, one of them was, I'm not getting killed today. Like, and I mean, when he has 2 drops, that's about it. Like, it's very rare, and it's a rarity that he drops balls. But and then dude has been crazy in Bragg. Like, Xavier Smith has been gone stupid in Bragg. Like, I think he's got 6 or 7 touchdowns in Bragg. I need to check the stats. I think last game 3 touchdowns, this game 2. That's 5. I think the Albany State game he had 2 or 3. Like, it's up there already. Like, he's approaching a 10 touchdown season if he's not already there. That is good film to put out there. I don't care who you are. He fits that kind of Wes Welker-ish, Danny Amendola profile of receivers who may not be very tall, but that can run nice routes, have good hands, catch the ball, and he does really well with making something out of nothing. Like, that's a guy I would love to see in a place like Jacksonville, Tampa, Miami, heck, Atlanta. Like, that's an athlete that you like to get the ball and just let him get in open space. And then I asked him about that though. What is about Bragg that's just got you like just doing this? And he was like, it's like being at home. I mean, he compared it I believe he compared it to being like backyard football. And we're seeing that because you got the DJ, you got the fans. And this is just stating, as a fan, you're important. I understand. Look, hurricane this week, I get it. Homecoming, though, we need everybody there. Southern, we need you there, because the players are telling you you're creating a vibe. Last week when Alabama A&M was there, it was a vibe. Like, it was different because of the fan experience, the fan input, and everything like that. And then I got to ask a few questions, and we all got to ask questions from Xavier Land, and he's coming into his own kind of late, and you can see that as the season has progressed, he's getting better. I much like many others, lament that he did miss that UNC game. I feel like he would be a little further ahead had he played that game. And he even admitted, like, okay, the defense is starting to come together. He would like the defense and the team as a whole to get a faster start. It's something I also would like. But he felt like the defense did a better job setting the edge. And I'm noticing in myself a humility about himself, because he's saying, I'm gotta get away from being the playmaker and get more into, okay, I have to fill in a role. I may not get the stats that I got last year, but as long as I fill in my role, I'm gonna still wreak havoc. And because the teams are sliding away from him, they're chipping him, they're double teaming him, they're doing things to mitigate the role that he's going to play in this game. And we got to start faster. That was the big takeaway from Xavier Lane. And so, great win, y'all. Instant reaction. Y'all know normal podcast 30 minutes anyway, but instant reaction. We're going to try to do this. We're going to not try to. We're going to do this again next week unless some things change. We do have the South Carolina State game and then the Grambling game. We're going to see about the Grambling game. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I might be at the Cookman game for the Grambling game. So, but FAMU wins, and tomorrow 8:30 we will do our show and talk about the week that was at FAMU athletics. Probably just kind of talk about the game again and some of the other things. But instant reaction: FAMU wins against Mississippi Valley State. The streak continues. I think we got a 4-game winning streak against them. Final score 34-7. I'm gonna scroll down. I know I don't normally do this live, but I'm gonna scroll down and see what score I had. I'm pretty sure I had us winning that game pretty convincingly. Let's see, we're gonna scroll in the roll sheet. This is great. This is great podcasting. Let's see. I had us winning this game 42-17. I had us winning. So I had the FAMU points close, the Valley points not so much. So I was somewhat close. I was in the ballpark. So no, again, big win. Shout out to Cable Busters TV, HBCU Digital Network. And next week, the Black Techies, they took this Saturday off, but they will be back on next week. I got to check what time Herb is running, so I make sure we don't overlap and overrun. But big shout out to the Black Techies, HBCU Digital Network. Thank you. And Cable Busters TV, 3 devices, $35, live TV, live sports. And as always, it's going to be Fangs up.
Yeah, baby, you know what time it is. Now let's get it started.